Vice President Kamala Harris is still with us as our exclusive interview with her continues. Madam Vice President, these are such difficult times. We were all still reeling from the shootings in Atlanta. The flags had been lowered half-mast, and we're back up, and now they're lowered again for what's happened in Colorado. But many people are very frustrated about the shooting in Atlanta because it has not been called a hate crime. Should it be?
Listen, I mean, Gayle, look, you've got 6 Asian American women in Asian American businesses. And, you know, just when you look at it, you have to ask this question, which is what is going on? And the seriousness of AAPI hate crime, especially over the course of the last year, is profound. People are being assaulted. People are being cursed out. People are being treated, people are being denied service because they are Asian American. And look, I think we have to be clear that we have a history in America that we need to deal with, a history that included the Chinese Exclusion Act as a law, that we interned Japanese Americans who also fought for the liberties of Americans in war. And we have this rise in hate crimes. And when I was Attorney General of California, I published a hate crime report every year. It's not new, but it has grown, and it must be confronted and dealt with.
What do we do?
Well, what do we do? A number of things. One, we have to hold the people who commit hate crimes accountable.
Yes.
We also need to speak the truth about our history and not gloss over it. We need to also talk about what we must do to really think about how we define who is an American, and understand that it is the very essence of the strength of our nation that we are a land of immigrants, people who have come from around the globe here and have contributed to our vitality, our strength, and all people are part of that. The Chinese helped build the railroads of America.
Isn't it part of holding people accountable, though, at least calling it a hate crime? I think in Atlanta, it's been now a week. They still aren't calling it what, it's like if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, smells like a duck, it's a duck. And there's been such reluctance to call it that.
Well, I'm not prosecuting that case, so I'm not going to tell the but I will. But I've spoken very clearly about it, which is exactly that we are looking at a situation where Asian women have been killed. Let's also talk about the reality of race and sex in terms of the intersectionality of it all, and what we have seen in terms of crimes against Asian women in particular in our country, recently and historically.
Yeah, your voice matters in this conversation.
Madam Vice President, the White House has been criticized by members of its own party for not having enough Asian Americans in the high levels of the government at this point. Senator Tammy Duckworth, in particular, very critical of the absence there. What's being done to change that? Are there enough?
Yeah. Well, Anthony, you're right. Well, first of all, let's just speak truth. Representation matters. And when you look at the composition of the United States Congress, less than 4% of those serving in Congress are Asian American, AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islander. You look at the CEOs of our major companies and corporations in America, less than 3% are Asian American and AAPI. So we need to talk about this. Representation matters, and we've got to address it. We are very proud that among our cabinet, we have majority people of color. We are and it's historic in that way. We are proud that we have an equal number of women and men, but there's still more work to be done. There's no question about that.
Let's take a look at what's happening at the border. Rightly or wrongly, people are coming in record numbers because they believe the Biden administration has encouraged certainly children to come. What are you going to do about that? It's chaotic. Some are calling it a crisis. And your team is under fire because both Republicans and Democrats said, look, if you're going to change the Trump policy, the previous policy, at least have a game plan. And there doesn't appear right now to be a game plan.
Well, okay, look, it's a huge problem. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It's a huge problem. And are we looking at overcrowding at the border, in particular of these kids? Yes. Should these kids be in the custody of HHS, the Health and Human Services, instead of the Border Patrol? Yes. Should we be processing these cases faster? Yes. This is, however, not going to be solved overnight. There are things that we need to do, especially since there was a system in place previously, before the last administration, to allow us to process these kids in their country of origin. That was dismantled. We have to reconstruct it. It's not going to happen overnight, but you know, we have senior administration officials right now in Mexico and Guatemala also dealing with, in addition to what needs to happen at the border.
Will you
root
and the
causes.
president be going down to the border anytime soon?
At some point, absolutely, we will go down to the border, and I've been down to the border. And our Secretary of the Homeland Security, Alex Mayorkas, has been down there twice. Senior administration officials have been down there. And yes, we will go. But the reality also is that in addition to the border, we also need to deal with the root causes.
Yes.
We need to deal with what's happening in the Northern Triangle and address it in a way that is about not only diplomacy, but bringing our allies together, dealing with what we need to do around aid in a way that is about developing those countries so that we also deal with the cause of why people are coming into our country.
That's a long-term proposition. In the meantime, there are 500
But we can't give
children.
up on that.
Understood, but there are 500 children a day, and we don't have enough housing already who are crossing into the border. What do we do in the meantime to stop it?
Well, we do what we need to do to actually reconstruct the systems, Anthony, that are about processing these cases. And that is taking some time. Look, we've been in office less than 100 days. We're addressing it. We're dealing with it. But it's going to take some time. And are we frustrated? Are you frustrated? Yes, we are.
Are you enjoying the job? And then we got to go. Yes or no?
I am enjoying this job. Thank you. I feel a great sense of responsibility to make sure we address the needs of the people.
Well, everybody's watching. Thank you very much, Vice President Harris.
Thank you. Good to be with you both.